The challenge begins. The arena was silent. The air was thick with tension. Bright lights shone from above, casting long shadows on the metallic floor. In the center stood Captain Rook, Earth's strongest warrior. His sharp blue eyes scanned the battlefield, his muscles tense, ready for combat. Across from him stood his opponent, a tall alien girl with silver skin and glowing violet eyes. She looked almost human, except for the strange energy that flickered around her body like a living flame. She wore a black combat suit, sleek and futuristic. She was calm, confident, and unafraid. The voice of the alien announcer echoed through the vast chamber. The duel begins now. The test of power. The test of dominance. The alien girl smirked. You are weak, human. Rook didn't respond. He had heard this before. Aliens always thought humans were weak. He had spent years proving them wrong. Today would be no different. The HFY. A few hours earlier, Rook had been inside a military base on Earth when he received the call. A high-ranking alien diplomat had sent an urgent message. Earth's warriors must prove their strength. The message had said, "Our champion has challenged you. If you refuse, it will mean humanity is unworthy of respect." Rook had agreed immediately. He wasn't afraid of a challenge. He wasn't afraid of aliens. He had fought many before. Some were strong, some were fast, but in the end, humans always found a way to win. Now, standing face to face with the alien girl, he could see why they had chosen her. She moved like a predator, her posture perfect, her balance unshakable. She is dangerous. This will not be easy, Rook thought. But that only made it more exciting. The first movie. A loud clang echoed through the arena as the battle began. The alien girl vanished. Rook's eyes widened. She had moved faster than he expected. A blur of silver and black appeared to his right. Too late. A hard kick slammed into his ribs, knocking him back. His boots scraped against the floor as he regained balance. Pain shot through his side. He looked up. The alien girl was already standing a few feet away, arms crossed, smirking. "Too slow," she mocked. Rook exhaled, rolling his shoulders. He ignored the pain. He had fought tougher enemies before. "Good move," he admitted, "but let's see if you can handle this." He charged forward with explosive speed, surprising her. At the last second, he dodged to the side and aimed a brutal punch at her ribs. But she was fast, too fast. She twisted, avoiding the hit completely. Then she disappeared again. A sharp pain exploded in Rook's back. She had teleported behind him and landed a powerful strike. He stumbled but didn't fall. The alien girl chuckled. Is this the best humanity has to offer? Rook wiped a drop of blood from his lip and smirked. Not even close. The mind game begins. Rook knew brute strength wouldn't be enough. She was faster, smarter, more advanced. But humans had one thing aliens often underestimated: strategy. Rook relaxed his stance, pretending to be slower than he really was. He let his breathing become heavy, his shoulders lower. He acted like he was struggling. The alien girl grinned. She saw weakness. She rushed forward, preparing a final blow. But at the last second, Rook moved. With perfect timing, he stepped aside, caught her wrist, and twisted it sharply. She gasped, her violet eyes wide with shock. "Gotcha," Rook whispered. Using her own momentum, he threw her across the arena. She crashed onto the ground, rolling before landing on one knee. Her expression was different now, less confident. She looked at Rook, then at her own hands, as if trying to understand what had just happened. The audience of alien spectators murmured. A human had just outplayed their champion. Rook stood tall. "You think power is about speed?" he asked. "You think it's about strength. You don't know what real power is." The alien girl's eyes narrowed. The energy around her body burned brighter. She wasn't going to hold back anymore. The real fight begins. She lifted her hand, and suddenly, the air crackled with energy. Rook felt his skin tingle. Something was different now. A blast of pure force shot from her palm, faster than a bullet. Rook barely dodged, rolling to the side as the energy exploded behind him, leaving a smoking crater in the metal floor. He narrowed his eyes. So she had been hiding her true power. The alien girl stood tall, her confidence returning. Now, human, you will see what true strength looks like. Rook clenched his fists. He loved a challenge. This fight had just begun. First strike, first lesson. The world around him was a blur of smoke and energy. The alien girl stood with her hand raised, her violet eyes burning with power. The thin wisp of steam rose from her fingertips, where an energy blast had just been fired. Captain Rook crouched behind a dented metal pillar, his breathing steady but his muscles tense. The floor where he had stood just seconds ago was now a scorched crater, still sizzling with the remains of her attack. She's stronger than I thought. Faster, too. For the first time in years, Rook felt something unfamiliar stir inside him. Something close to doubt. But doubt wasn't an option. Not here. Not now. The alien girl stepped forward, her boots clicking against the arena floor. Still standing, human. She mocked. I'm impressed, but it won't last. She raised her hand again, another bright pulse of energy forming at her palm. Rook knew he couldn't stay still. He had to move. Fast. The Seiti Ko and attack. Rook launched himself sideways just as the alien girl unleashed a second blast. The energy bolt sliced through the air like a lightning strike, narrowly missing his shoulder. It hit the pillar behind him with a deafening boom, sending molten debris flying. She isn't just fast, she's precise. Rook rolled, bracing himself as he landed in a crouch. His mind raced. He had been in hundreds of battles, against men, against machines, even against alien creatures with razor-sharp instincts. But this was different. This girl was playing with him, testing him. And that meant she wasn't even using her full power yet. The alien girl tilted her head, amusement flickering across her face. You're good, she admitted, but your reflexes won't save you forever. She vanished. Rook's heart pounded as he scanned the battlefield. His instincts screamed at him. Movi. But it was too late. A sharp force struck his side, sending him crashing into the ground. He rolled, gasping for air as pain shot through his ribs. She had hit him. Hard. Rook gritted his teeth and looked up. The alien girl stood over him, a victorious smirk on her lips. You're predictable, human. The human response. Rook wiped a streak of blood from his chin and exhaled slowly. His ribs ached, his arms felt heavy, but his mind was sharper than ever. This wasn't just a fight of strength or speed. This was a battle of strategy. The alien girl thought she had already won. Good. Let her think that. Rook pushed himself to his feet, shaking off the pain. He met her gaze and smirked. Predictable. Funny. I was about to say the same thing about you. The alien girl's expression faltered for a split second, just enough for Rook to act. With blinding speed, he lunged forward, faking a punch to her left. She reacted instantly, dodging, exactly as he expected. At the last second, Rook switched his attack and slammed his fist into her right side. A solid hit. The alien girl stumbled back, eyes wide in shock. The crowd of alien spectators murmured, a human, landing a clean hit on their champion. Impossible. But Rook wasn't done. He pressed forward, delivering a second, even faster punch to her midsection. She blocked it, but the impact still sent her skidding backward. She recovered quickly, her hands crackling with energy, but her expression had changed. The smug confidence was gone. For the first time, she looked unsure. The HFY in power. Rook rolled his shoulders, his stance relaxed. Let me teach you something, alien, he said, his voice calm but firm. The alien girl glared at him. You have nothing to teach me, human. Rook raised an eyebrow. Really? Because you just made your first mistake. She stiffened. You think this fight is about power, about speed, but real power, he pointed to his head, starts up here. The alien girl's eyes narrowed. You think you can outsmart me? No, Rook said with a smirk. I already have. Before she could react, Rook kicked up a piece of debris from the floor and sent it flying towards her face. Instinctively, she flinched, raising her hand to block it. A split-second distraction. That was all he needed. Rook closed the distance in a blink and slammed his elbow into her shoulder, knocking her off balance. Before she could recover, he grabbed her wrist and twisted, forcing her to her knees. A sharp gasp escaped her lips. The audience fell silent. A human had just forced an elite alien warrior to kneel. The first liaison. Rook held her there, his grip strong but controlled. He leaned in slightly. Lesson 1, he said. Power means nothing if you can't control a fight. The alien girl clenched her jaw, fury flashing in her eyes. Then, something unexpected happened. She smiled. Not a smirk, not mockery, but excitement. Finally, she whispered. A challenge. Then, without warning, her entire body pulsed with energy. A shockwave erupted from her form, throwing Rook backward. He skidded across the floor, barely catching himself before he crashed. He looked up just in time to see her floating above the ground, her violet eyes glowing like twin stars. She wiped the corner of her mouth and grinned. All right, human. Let's see how smart you really are. Rook took a deep breath. Now, the real fight was about to begin. The power shift begins. The air shimmered with raw energy. Sparks danced across the battlefield like tiny bolts of lightning. Captain Rook pushed himself up, his muscles aching from the impact of the alien girl's blast. He had fought many battles before, but this was different. Hovering in the air, the alien girl looked down at him with a new expression. No longer arrogance, no longer dismissal. Now, there was excitement. She had been holding back. Now she wasn't. Rook took a deep breath, his mind racing. She's faster, she's stronger, but she's still making mistakes. She thought power was everything. She didn't know what a real fight looked like. He smirked. Good. Let her learn. The first take, a game of speed. The alien girl raised her hand. Energy crackled at her fingertips. Without hesitation, she vanished. Rook's instincts screamed. Mo-V. He barely ducked in time as a violet energy blast sliced through the air where his head had been just moments ago. He rolled, twisting midair, and landed in a crouch. A shadow flickered above him. Too late. A devastating kick smashed into his back, sending him flying across the battlefield. His body slammed against the hard metal floor, but he turned the fall into a roll, minimizing the damage. He looked up just as she landed gracefully a few feet away. The alien girl laughed, her voice filled with amusement. You're fast, human, but I am faster. Rook exhaled slowly, wiping the streak of dirt from his chin. He smirked. Fast is good, but smart is better. Her smile faltered for a split second. Good. She's starting to doubt. A true ape, he sees ET in motion. The alien girl launched forward again, moving at impossible speeds. But this time, Rook was ready. He didn't try to dodge. He didn't try to block. He baited her. At the last moment, he shifted just enough to let her attack graze past his shoulder. Then he twisted, grabbing her wrist in midair. A perfect counter. Her eyes widened in shock as Rook used her own momentum against her, slamming her into the ground. The impact sent a shockwave through the arena. The alien crowd gasped. Their champion had just been thrown. Rook stood over her, breathing heavily. You're fast, but speed without control. That's just wasted movement. The alien girl gritted her teeth. For the first time, She looked frustrated. The turning point. A new strategy. She sprang back to her feet, her fists clenched. The amusement in her eyes was gone. Now she was serious. She took a deep breath, her body glowing with raw power. The energy around her shifted, becoming denser, more focused. Rook narrowed his eyes. Something was different. Then she moved. Not fast. Instant. 1 second she was in front of him. The next. She was behind him. A brutal strike to his ribs. Pain exploded through Rook's body. He barely had time to react before another hit slammed into his back. She wasn't just teleporting. She was phasing through space itself. Rook stumbled, coughing as he tried to regain his balance. The alien girl smirked. "You were saying something about wasted movement." Rook exhaled, steadying himself. His mind worked rapidly, analyzing every detail. She wasn't teleporting randomly. She was following a pattern. If he could find that pattern, he could counter it. The JM below. Learning TUPREDIC. The alien girl vanished again. Rook closed his eyes. He listened. The hum of her energy, the shift in the air, the fraction of a second where space distorted. He felt her presence, behind him. Rook moved before she even struck. With perfect timing, he twisted, grabbed her wrist midair, and threw her into the ground. The impact shook the arena. The alien girl gasped in shock. The crowd fell silent. Rook stepped back, shaking off the pain in his body. He exhaled and smirked. Lesson 2. His voice was steady. "No matter how fast you are, if I can predict your next move, you're already beaten." The alien girl lay still for a moment. Then, slowly, she lifted her head and smiled. Not frustration, not anger, but pure, burning excitement. She wiped a drop of blood from the corner of her mouth. "I see now," she murmured. "This is why humans are dangerous." Her violet eyes glowed brighter than ever. She wasn't going to hold back anymore. The final shift. Lumen OCKing true power. The ground beneath them trembled. The alien girl closed her eyes. The energy around her body shifted, becoming calmer, sharper. Then, a blinding wave of light erupted from her form. Rook shielded his eyes as the entire battlefield was consumed in the glow. When the light faded, he looked up, and what he saw sent a chill down his spine. She was floating. But now, she looked different. Her silver skin shimmered like a living star. The energy around her body no longer flickered. It flowed, perfectly controlled. Her violet eyes had turned almost white, burning with intensity. She landed softly, her movements eerily smooth. She wasn't just faster now. She wasn't just stronger. She was something else entirely. The alien girl raised her hand, her fingers crackling with a power Rook had never seen before. She smiled. "No more games, human. Now, let's see what you're really made of." Rook clenched his fists, his heart pounding. The real fight was about to begin. When a human gets serious, the battlefield had changed. The metallic floor was cracked and scorched, still sizzling from the immense energy that had just erupted from the alien girl's body. The air was thick with static, every breath charged with power. Captain Rook stood still, his muscles tense, his mind calculating. Across from him, the alien girl hovered just inches above the ground. She was different now. Her energy was no longer wild and unstable. It was controlled, refined, deadly. Her violet eyes had turned an eerie, glowing white. The silver hue of her skin had taken on a radiant shimmer, almost like liquid metal. She moved with an unnatural grace, her every motion precise, effortless. She wasn't just fighting anymore. She was evolving. Rook exhaled, rolling his shoulders. "So, you were holding back this whole time?" The alien girl smirked. "Of course." Her voice was softer now, but it carried weight. She lifted her hand, and immediately the ground beneath Rook shifted. He had no time to react before an invisible force slammed into him, lifting him off the ground and hurling him backward. Rook twisted midair, managing to land on his feet, but the instant he touched down, the alien girl was already in front of him. She moved faster than thought. No sound, no warning, just pure, terrifying speed. Rook barely had time to block before her fist crashed into his arms, sending shockwaves through his bones. The impact was brutal, like being hit by a meteor. He staggered back, but she didn't let up. In an instant, she struck again, a kick to the ribs, followed by a pulse of raw energy that sent Rook flying. He hit the ground hard. The crowd of alien spectators roared. For the first time in the battle, Captain Rook wasn't in control. The realization, power vs. adaptability. Rook gritted his teeth as he pushed himself up, his body screaming in protest. He had fought stronger enemies before. He had faced monsters, machines, and even enhanced soldiers. But this was different. She wasn't just strong. She wasn't just fast. She was learning. Every counter he had used before, useless now. She had adapted, and that was dangerous. The alien girl tilted her head. "You're struggling, human." Rook exhaled sharply, shaking the pain from his limbs. Not really. Just thinking. Thinking. Calculating. Finding a way. The alien girl raised an eyebrow. "Thinking won't save you." She lifted her hand, and suddenly, Rook felt a terrible pressure wrap around his body. An invisible grip. His feet left the ground. She was holding him in the air, without touching him. The escape. "Wait, a human man, it is serious." Rook felt his lungs tighten as the pressure increased. It was like an invisible hand crushing him from all sides. The alien girl slowly curled her fingers. She was squeezing the life out of him. Rook's vision blurred. His bones ached. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. The crowd cheered. She was about to end it. Not today. Rook clenched his fists, and then, with every ounce of his strength, he forced his muscles to move. It was agonizing. His body was screaming in pain, but he didn't stop. Because humans don't stop. With a roar, Rook twisted his entire body, breaking the telekinetic grip through sheer force of will. The energy around him shattered. The alien girl's eyes widened in shock. Impossible. Rook didn't let her finish. He launched forward with inhuman speed, using the very pain in his body to fuel him. In one brutal motion, he grabbed her by the neck and slammed her into the ground with all his might. The impact shook the entire arena. For the first time, she was the one gasping for air. The alien spectators went silent. The human strength. What true power means? Rook didn't let go. He held her down, his grip like iron. He leaned in, his voice steady. Lesson 3. The alien girl's breath hitched. Rook tightened his grip. Power isn't just about strength. It's about how much pain you can take, how far you're willing to go. He saw something shift in her glowing eyes. For the first time, fear. Not fear of death, not fear of losing, but fear of something she couldn't understand. Humans weren't the strongest species. They weren't the fastest, but they were the ones who never gave up. Rook could see the realization dawn on her. She had underestimated him. She had underestimated all of humanity. He let go, stepping back. "Now you understand." The alien girl gasped, clutching her throat. She looked up at him, her glowing eyes filled with something new. Not anger, not hate, respect. But the fight wasn't over. She pushed herself up, breathing heavily, her hands clenched into fists, her body trembling, not from exhaustion, but from something deeper. Rook saw it in her stance, in the way she squared her shoulders. She wasn't fighting for dominance anymore. Now she was fighting to prove herself. The alien girl smiled. And then she said something that made the entire arena fall silent. "I yield." The alien crowd gasped. Even Rook felt a flicker of surprise. "You're giving up." She shook her head. "No. I've learned what I needed to learn. You win, human." Rook studied her carefully. She meant it. She had started this fight with arrogance. She had wanted to prove humans were weak. But now she understood. The final words, a newfound respect. The alien girl took a deep breath, then did something no one expected. She extended her hand. A handshake. Rook stared at it for a moment. Then, slowly, he reached out and grasped her hand. The moment his fingers closed around hers, a ripple of understanding passed between them. She had fought to prove her superiority. He had fought to prove humanity's strength. In the end, they had both won something greater. Respect. The alien girl smirked. "You're terrifying, human." Rook chuckled. "I know." The hidden weapon. The arena was silent. Not the kind of silence that came from peace. The kind of silence that came before something terrible happened. Captain Rook and the alien girl stood facing each other. The battle was over, or at least, it should have been. She had yielded. She had learned her lesson. But something wasn't right. The air had changed. It felt thicker, heavier. Rook's instincts, honed by years of war, told him one thing: danger. The alien girl frowned, tilting her head. She sensed it too. Something is wrong. Rook scanned the arena. The alien spectators were stiff, frozen. Some looked confused. Others looked afraid. Then, a deep, unnatural hum filled the air. Something was coming. A disturbance in the crowd. Rook's sharp eyes locked onto the VIP balcony above the arena, where the alien officials sat. They had watched the fight unfold with amusement, curiosity, and finally, shock when their champion had admitted defeat. But now their faces were pale, their bodies tense. One of them, an elder alien with deep golden skin, rose from his seat. He was clutching a strange black device in his trembling hands. Rook didn't like that at all. The alien girl followed his gaze. The moment she saw the device, her face darkened. No, they wouldn't. But they would. Rook took a step forward. "What is that?" Before she could answer, the golden-skinned elder pressed the device. And suddenly, everything changed. The true purpose of DHEDUEL. A sharp shockwave exploded from the device, rippling through the arena like a tidal wave. Rook felt his muscles lock up, his breath hitch in his throat. It wasn't just him. The alien girl staggered too, her body trembling, her energy flickering. The spectators gasped, some falling to their knees. The elder alien finally spoke, his voice cold. "Enough of this farce. We gave you a chance to prove humanity's strength. You passed. But strength alone is not enough. Now you will be tested in the way that truly matters." His golden eyes gleamed. Survival. Rook's instincts screamed at him. Movi. But before he could, the entire arena began to change. The smooth metallic walls peeled away, revealing something hidden beneath. Black, shifting tendrils of an unknown material. They pulsed like veins. They moved like they were alive. And then, the arena itself came to life. The hidden enemy. Rook gritted his teeth, forcing his body to move. The alien girl did the same, her fingers twitching as she fought off the unseen force paralyzing them. Then, from the walls, something stepped out. It wasn't an alien. It wasn't human. It was wrong. A creature, jet black and featureless, with no eyes, no mouth. Just a shifting, morphing form of pure darkness. And then another. And another. Within seconds, dozens of them emerged from the walls, their bodies flickering in and out of reality like shadows that refused to stay still. The alien girl cursed under her breath. Voidborn. Rook had never heard that name before, but he didn't need an explanation. These things weren't natural. They weren't supposed to exist. And yet, here they were. Betrayal and purpose. The elder alien spread his arms. These creatures are the true test. They do not care for strength. They do not care for honor. They exist for one reason only: to erase the weak. His voice was calm, almost reverent. We let them sleep beneath our cities, beneath our arenas, beneath our entire civilization. And when we need them, we awaken them. He turned his gaze toward Rook. Only those who survive them prove they are worthy. Rook clenched his fists. You planned this from the start. The elder nodded. Yes. The alien girl's fists crackled with energy. You lied to me. You used me. The elder sighed. You are strong, child. But strength is not enough. You had to learn that. And now you will either prove your worth, or you will be erased, just like so many before you. Rook didn't wait for more explanations, because the Voidborn were already moving. The first strike. One of the creatures launched forward, its body stretching unnaturally as it closed the distance in less than a heartbeat. Rook twisted, dodging just in time as a razor-sharp tendril sliced through the air where his head had been. The alien girl wasn't so lucky. A second creature lashed out, catching her mid-motion. The moment it touched her, her energy flickered violently, like a flame about to be snuffed out. She screamed. Rook moved without thinking. He grabbed her wrist and yanked her away, the force breaking the Voidborn's grip. The moment she was free, her energy stabilized, and she gasped for breath. They drain energy, she panted. They don't just kill. They erase. If they touch you long enough. Rook understood immediately. They wouldn't just die. They would cease to exist. Fighting the unforgettable. Rook's mind worked fast. Bullets wouldn't work. Strength wouldn't work. They needed a strategy. They needed to adapt. We need to move, he said. We can't let them surround us. The alien girl nodded. Her expression had changed. The arrogance was gone. The pride was gone. She trusted him now. Together, they moved. The Voidborn screeched, a soundless, mind-breaking sound. Then they attacked. The battle had changed. This wasn't about victory anymore. This was about survival. And for the first time, Captain Rook wasn't sure if he could win. The final stand. The Voidborn moved like living shadows, their forms shifting, twisting, stretching in impossible ways. They weren't bound by the laws of nature. They didn't even belong to this reality. Rook had fought soldiers, aliens, machines, but nothing like this. Beside him, the alien girl stood breathing hard, fists clenched, energy crackling around her like a living storm. She had been arrogant before, sure of her superiority. Now she looked at these creatures with something Rook hadn't seen in her before. Fear. She glanced at him. Any ideas, human? Rook rolled his shoulders. His body ached. His ribs throbbed from the earlier battle. But he wasn't dead yet. And if he wasn't dead, he could still win. Yeah, he said, cracking his knuckles. We kill them. The alien girl let out a breathless chuckle. Brilliant strategy. Then the Voidborn attacked. The first wave. A Naichiti Mayari unleashed. The creatures moved at impossible speeds, surging forward in a chaotic storm of writhing limbs and shifting forms. They didn't walk. They didn't run. They simply appeared. Rook barely had time to react before the first Voidborn lunged. A whip-like tendril lashed out, aiming straight for his chest. He dodged. Barely. A second Voidborn struck from behind. This time, Rook wasn't fast enough. It grazed his arm. A freezing, soul-ripping pain shot through his body. For a split second, he wasn't just in pain, he was vanishing. His vision blurred. His mind felt lighter, weaker, fading. They weren't just killing him. They were erasing him. No, not today. Rook forced himself to move. With sheer, stubborn, human willpower, He tore himself away from the Voidborn's touch. His arm burned where it had touched him. His skin looked wrong, like it had been smeared with pure darkness, flickering in and out of existence. The alien girl saw it and cursed. "We can't let them touch us." Rook exhaled sharply. No kidding. Then 5 more Voidborn surged forward, fighting into the dark. The alien girl moved first. She launched into the air, energy exploding from her hands as she fired blazing white-hot energy bolts at the incoming creatures. The blasts slammed into the Voidborn, tearing through their forms, but they didn't die. Instead, they simply reformed. "They're not solid," she shouted, her voice filled with frustration. "They don't have real bodies." Rook gritted his teeth. "Then we stopped fighting them like they do." He didn't need fancy alien powers. He didn't need to break the laws of physics. He just needed to think. He watched the Voidborn move, analyzed the way their forms flickered. They weren't teleporting randomly. They were following patterns. They weren't just mindless monsters. They were hunting. And that meant they had weaknesses. Rook's brain worked at lightning speed, picking up on the small gaps between their attacks, the moments where their flickering bodies hesitated. That was it. Their timing. If they were erasing reality around them, then there had to be moments where they were more solid, more vulnerable. Rook's eyes narrowed. "I think I know how to hit them." The alien girl glanced at him. "Then do it fast, human." Because the Voidborn were coming again. Turning the tide. A human's strength. Rook stood his ground. He had one shot to test his theory. The next Voidborn surged forward, its form flickering, its tendrils stretching toward him. Rook focused. He watched, waited, and then he moved. At the exact second that the Voidborn solidified, Rook punched forward with all his strength. His fist connected. A sickening crack echoed through the air. The Voidborn reeled back, screeching. Its body warped violently. And then it shattered. The alien girl's eyes widened. That actually worked. Rook rolled his shoulders. "Yeah, because humans figure things out." She smirked. "Then let's do this together." They didn't hesitate. The Voidborn came again, but this time, Rook and the alien girl fought as one. She used her energy blasts to force the creatures into predictable positions. Rook used his reflexes, his instincts, his raw human tenacity to hit them at the exact moment they solidified. One by one, the Voidborn fell. They weren't unstoppable. They could be killed. And Captain Rook was really good at killing things. The final enemy. A twist in the plan. The arena was nearly empty now. The Voidborn were gone. All but one. The last one was different. It wasn't attacking. It wasn't flickering. It was standing still, watching. Rook narrowed his eyes. What's it waiting for? Then, the ground beneath them trembled. A voice, deep and ancient, rumbled through the air. "You were not supposed to win." The Voidborn shifted, grew. Its body stretched upward, twisting into something much larger, much darker. The elder alien on the balcony, the one who had unleashed them, screamed. The Voidborn turned toward him. And without hesitation, it erased him from existence. The alien girl's breath hitched. It's not under their control anymore. Rook exhaled, shaking out his sore fists. "Great, now we have an even bigger problem." The Voidborn turned toward them. Its voice crawled into their minds. "You are not warriors. You are not strong. You are an infection." The air turned black. The world itself seemed to bend and break. Rook clenched his fists. "Yeah," he muttered. "Then come and kill me, Shadow Freak." The final battle had begun. The lesson in power. The world was breaking. The sky above the arena had darkened into something unnatural. Not black, but the absence of color itself. The air was thick, heavy, vibrating with something beyond the limits of reality. And at the center of it all stood the final Voidborn. It had taken a new form, towering, monstrous, shifting like liquid shadow. Its body pulsed with an eerie, abyss-like glow, and when it moved, the very fabric of space around it seemed to twist and crack. This wasn't just another creature. This was something ancient, something that should never have been awakened, and it was looking straight at Captain Rook. Its voice crawled into his mind like an invading parasite. Your existence is an anomaly. You are nothing but flesh and fear. I will erase you from time itself. Rook exhaled slowly. Yeah, you can try. Beside him, the alien girl clenched her fists, her glowing violet eyes locked onto the creature. I have never faced something like this, she admitted. Rook rolled his shoulders. Neither have I. Guess we'll have to make this up as we go. The Voidborn did not move. Then, suddenly, it did. And the world shattered. The Voidborn reality ECOLAPs. It didn't lunge. It didn't charge. It simply existed in multiple places at once. One moment, it was in front of them. The next, it was behind, above, below. Then, it struck. A wave of pure void energy exploded outward. Rook and the alien girl barely dodged, rolling in opposite directions as the blast ripped through the ground, disintegrating the metal floor into nothingness. Rook didn't stop moving. He pushed off the ground, lunging forward, aiming a brutal punch at what he thought was the creature's core. His fist passed straight through it. Cold. Empty. Nothing. The Voidborn wasn't solid. It wasn't bound by the rules of reality. And yet, its attacks were very, very real. A massive tendril of shadow lashed out, aiming for Rook's head. He ducked, just in time. The impact crushed the wall behind him, leaving a swirling void where solid matter used to be. Rook gritted his teeth. We can't hit it. The alien girl was already moving, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts, her attacks precise and devastating. They did nothing. The Voidborn absorbed them. And then, as if laughing at her attempt, it raised a shadowy limb and returned her own attack against her. A bolt of stolen energy slammed into her chest. She screamed, sent flying across the battlefield, skidding to a stop, her body smoking. Rook's eyes widened. The Voidborn turned toward him. She will fade, and you will follow. Rook clenched his fists. Not happening. And then, for the first time in the battle, he stopped thinking about survival and started thinking about how to win. The liaison in power, a human's greatest strength. Everything in Rook's mind clicked at once. The Voidborn wasn't a physical being. It wasn't something they could hit or blast apart. It was something else, something that didn't belong. And if it didn't belong in this reality, then maybe, just maybe, it could be forced out. Rook sprinted toward the alien girl, grabbing her arm, pulling her up. She coughed, glaring at him. That thing is impossible to fight. No, Rook corrected. It's impossible to fight the way we've been trying. She frowned. What are you saying? Rook looked her in the eye. Your power. It's energy-based, right? She nodded. Then stop thinking like a fighter and start thinking like a scientist. Her eyes widened. Wait, you mean? Rook smirked. We don't attack it. We disrupt it. The Voidborn began moving again, a whirling mass of living darkness, closing in on them from all sides. The alien girl hesitated. Then, slowly, she smiled. I see now. Let's finish this. The final strike, ending the Voidborn. The Voidborn lunged. Rook moved first. He didn't dodge this time. He didn't run. He charged straight at the creature. It reacted immediately, its limbs stretching toward him, ready to erase him from existence. But just before it made contact, the alien girl unleashed everything she had. A pulse of energy, not as a weapon, but as a frequency. A ripple in space. a disruption in reality itself. The Voidborn screamed. It flailed, its body losing cohesion, its form breaking apart like static on a broken screen. It was being forced out. It tried to resist. It tried to lash out. But Rook wasn't done yet. He reached into the Voidborn's form, into the swirling black hole of its existence, and pulled. For a split second, he saw something beneath the darkness. Something old. Something terrified. It had never lost before. It had never faced something like this before. Before it could react, Rook snarled, and with every ounce of human defiance, he tore it apart. The Voidborn collapsed inward. It screeched one final time. And then, like a shadow at sunrise, it was gone. The AFTRMAT. What comes next? Silence. Rook stood still, breathing hard, his fists clenched, his heart hammering in his chest. The alien girl was next to him, eyes wide with shock, her body still glowing from the energy she had unleashed. They had won. The Voidborn was gone. The battle was over. But the arena? The alien spectators? The entire city? They had all just witnessed something impossible. The golden-skinned elder, the one who had unleashed the Voidborn in the first place, stared at Rook in absolute horror. "What are you?" he whispered. Rook exhaled, rolling his shoulders. "I'm human." The alien girl smirked. "And humans are terrifying." The elder took a step back. The rest of the alien spectators watched in stunned silence. For the first time in history, they understood. Humanity was not to be underestimated. Not ever again. Final words. The beginning of a legend. The alien girl turned to Rook, extending her hand. "We fought well together, human." Rook hesitated, then shook her hand. "Yeah, we did." She smirked. "What now?" Rook looked up at the crowd of shocked aliens. He cracked his knuckles. "Now." He grinned. "Now we show the universe what humans can really do."